And welcome to the K-Files. Good morning, JP.
Good morning, Miss Sandra. How are you?
Good, good. So glad to have you on this morning.
Glad to be back.
So we are, as promised, and I even announced it on the morning show this morning, so you would make sure you called your neighbors, whoever wants to watch this, because this was one of the most brutal, heinous murders we've had here. I mean, it really was. Hoy Jeff Cobb. So we're going to be talking about that. But first, of course, we always have to open by talking about the K-Files and what we are. We are a television show that is under the umbrella of a board of directors for Team Cold Case. We're trying to solve unsolved murders, and we ask for the public's help. Law enforcement always wants the public's help because you are the biggest crime solver. You really are. So if you know anything, we want you to call that number about anything we talk about on here. If you see it on YouTube, whatever, we want you to call that number. It's completely anonymous. We have $15,000 in the pot, and you will get paid up to $15,000 for a tip if you can help us solve. And again, it is anonymous. Only law enforcement will know. JP and I will not know who you are. But anyway, just wanted to let you know, and you do not have to wait until, it is not upon conviction that you would get paid. You would get paid immediately upon arrest of that individual or individuals. So anyway, we will start talking about Jeff Cobb this morning, a sad case. I just, when I hear, and Lindell had so many details. He got every detail he could get. Even, he had some details that law enforcement did not really put out there. So he just had lots of details about that case. And when you listen to it, it's just, I'm going to let him tell the story this morning because he had all the facts. So I'm gonna let you listen to him, and then JP and I will be back. We'll come back, JP, and we'll kind of talk about it. And but if you've never seen this, because we did this in the early days of the K-Files, this case, and I don't know why we haven't gone back to it, because it is one of the biggest murder cases. They're all big, believe me, but this was one of the most high-profile. Heinous murders has happened here. So anyway, let's watch Lindell as he kind of tells the story of this case. Jeff Cobb, we've been announcing that for about a week here. Jeff Cobb was a former Nash County Commissioner, 75 years of age, found dead on November 11th, 2014. And his home was on Jeffries Court. So that's a little bit of information about, background about Jeff Cobb.
Absolutely. So this was not a robbery. He was found dead in his home, and we're going to get into all the details. Right?
Okay.
But this was not a robbery.
Okay.
The folks, whoever killed Mr. Cobb wasn't trying to steal his watch or his television or whatever. You know, they were there to kill him, right? Okay. And there's certain reasons why we know this, right? Okay. So one, Sergeant Bunt with the cold case unit in Rocky Mount, you know, he asked in front of me that there was no indication of robbery as a motive at all. So nothing was taken, nothing was stolen, you know. So it's all in how he died, right? So we're gonna do something that probably gonna be uncomfortable for some folks. So I want to warn the family, you know, if we're going to show a couple of drawings here in a minute from Mr. Cobb's autopsy. There's Mr. Cobb. So if you don't want to see this, you know, tune out for a couple minutes, because although these are not photos or anything, I would never show that. But I want people to see from these autopsy pictures exactly how brutal Mr. Cobb's death was, right? So, you know, this is a situation where when you go to rob someone, you stab them once or twice, right? Mm-hmm. This was a situation where Mr. Cobb was stabbed 4 dozen times.
4 dozen?
4 dozen, right? Not a dozen, not 2 dozen, 4 dozen times. And in the first picture, you'll see that he's got 22 stab wounds on his chest right there. Right? Look at that, folks.
Oh, my word.
That is anger. That is emotion. That is passion right there. 22 stab wounds on his chest. And you can see, and then on the back, he's got, well, on the back, exactly. Y'all doing a great job back there. On the back, he had another 24 stab wounds, right? And if you'll see on some of those stab wounds, there's a circle with an X, right? And what that is that X is the tip of a Phillips screwdriver.
So he was stabbed all those times totally with only a screwdriver?
Right.
It was used for every stab?
As far as the medical examiners can determine.
Wow,
So,
a screwdriver.
a
Is
screwdriver.
that something you think they just picked up
Well,
and found, or is it something
well,
they had readily?
You're asking all the right questions, and we'll hold on one second. And we'll
I'm
get there.
intrigued about
No,
this
you're
stuff.
asking all the right questions. So on those stab wounds, it's a cross mark, and then there's a lot of those you saw had round bruises around them, that circle around it. And what that was the as the screwdriver came down into Mr. Cobb's body, it went all the way, the shaft all the way down to
All the
the
way
handle.
in, and the round?
And the roundness is the bottom of the handle.
Oh.
So this was a brutal,
Horrible.
brutal murder. This wasn't once or twice, and the screwdriver penetrated his heart, his lungs, and his liver. Right? Okay. So this man was killed in a manner that was probably a terrible way to die. Right. I mean, any way to die is bad, but I mean this was excruciating, and he felt every one of those 4 dozen stab wounds that penetrated his heart, his lungs, his liver. Then the continuing, they continued to stab him in the back. He had abrasions on his knees, which meant that during the attack he fell to his knees, and the attack continued. Right. He had
That's interesting.
He had a subdermal hemorrhage on the back of his head, where either he was hit to start this attack, or he fell down during the attack and hit his head. But either way, he bruised his head pretty bad, and he had defensive wounds all over his hands. So Mr. Cobb is, 75-year-old man fighting for his life from someone who stabbed him 4 dozen times. And I think,
Could a female do that? Could a female really? Could he not?
I think so. I think so. I think so because of his age, and because if they started in the back, really no way to really know, at least from with my level of experience, whether the attack started in the back. Maybe he could have been hit in the head, and then the attack starts on his back, and then, the front. We don't really know. But there is a question there as far as, who could have done this. And I think, you talked about the fact that a screwdriver was...
Yeah, go back to the screwdriver. Right. I'm still wanting to know about the screwdriver.
Lieutenant Mosley with the Rocky Mount PD, when we had this conversation, he said that's a very unconventional weapon to use, right? People don't walk around with screwdrivers too. So questions that I have that they were hesitant to answer for the purpose of their investigation, which I completely understand and respect. But if a screwdriver seems like a weapon that you would just grab.
Right. That's what I was.
Right.
Asking.
So is there a missing screwdriver at Mr. Cobb's house? Does he have a set? Does he have a set of 5 screwdrivers and one of them's missing?
Right.
Is there an indication of that this screwdriver belonged to him? and it was used, it was picked up and used.
Okay, if it was used at the house, that means that the emotion or when they got mad, it started at the house.
Right.
It wasn't a situation then where they come looking for him, because
Right, I
they would
don't
have
think so.
had their own weapon
Right.
or whatever. So this was something that was spur of the moment, is my point.
Right.
Is that correct?
I
I'm
think
just
so.
asking.
I mean, I think from what we know, I think so. I think, and it's also a crime of passion, and we'll get into next week. There's a whole lot more information in the autopsy report, and that's, we'll talk about a lot of that next week. But it circles back around to what I was telling you folks last week, is that most of this information is public record. There's some things that I get from law enforcement and talk to them, but a lot of these cases are so old that the information has to come from public records.
Right.
And the autopsy here, you can go. And like I said before, everything that we do here, I'm going to explain to folks so they can do it themselves. Right? There's no magic formula to all this.
Right.
It's simple research. So you can go online. You can go to the North Carolina Medical Examiner's office, and you can go on there if you know the county that someone died in. And sometimes you don't even have to know that, but you get it faster. The more you know, the faster you get it.
Right.
So if you know the county that someone died in, and you know the date that they died, and usually their name, you can enter that information into the medical examiner's office, and they will give you will usually get, it used to take weeks and weeks and weeks, you get the hard copy in the mail. But nowadays, usually they email you everything within a few days. Now, things have been a little bit slow because of the shutdown and all that stuff. But, if there's somebody that that died and you want to know more about it, it's all public record. Folks can go right on the medical examiner's website, put in the name, get the information.
Well,
So-
it's time to go.
It's time to go. That was quick.
break.
Yeah, well, no,
Not
this-
go,
no,
but to
no.
break.
This is perfect because I want people to know that I wanted to.
We'll be right back to talk about this right after this.
Wow.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Folks, you know what? This case is so solvable. It really is. Somebody out there knows something. I think Jeff Cobb had a habit of frequenting Gators. He was a member of the Elks Lodge. And I believe he was leaving Gators. He left Gators earlier that night. Somebody that was at Gators knows who he left with. Cameras,
Yeah.
Cameras,
Cameras,
JP.
parking lot surveillance, other department stores could have seen him leave. There's a lot of unanswered questions here. There's a lot of things that come up on my radar that I was not aware of until I saw this clip.
Well, there's more. And I think we're going to have to continue it because Linda had to do a two-part. And he says, and he has some details in the second one. If we do part of the show next week, we'll continue and we'll finish Jeff Cobb. But now, crime of passion, it has to be, he was not robbed. Nothing was missing. His wallet was there, had money. Nothing was missing from his house. As far as people could tell, nothing, was missing. So whoever did this, and as you said, you made a point. The screwdriver has been intriguing to me. But you said, because I envision a woman but until Lyndall said that it went
that was a detail
all the way
I didn't
in.
know.
I didn't remember that detail, but it's been quite a while, like a year and a half. But went all the way in all the way to the handle.
Penetrated tough organs.
So you're
cartilage,
saying
bone material.
it would take a man almost
It
to do
would
that.
take someone like a man with upper body strength to do that continuously.
Right. Yeah. So that would be, 50, 60 times.
50, almost 50 times.
Yeah.
That is rage.
That is right. And they kept on and on and on. It's really speculation.
Yes.
Speculation. It sounds like a jealous husband.
That's what it sounds. A boyfriend.
A boyfriend, a husband that found out that she was with him.
I want to know, was it Mr. Cobb's screwdriver or not?
Right. Right.
That would tell me so much.
Right. I mean, did it get heated, more heated, and so somebody just saw a screwdriver, picked it up, or, as you said, could it have been somebody that had a screwdriver in the truck, a contractor, a repair person,
Found out his wife was somewhere, speculating that she probably shouldn't have been.
right,
He drove over, on the drive over, just rage built, and the only thing he had was a screwdriver as a makeshift weapon.
Mr. Cobb was a very prominent man in town. His family owned the Cobb Corners. It is the Cobb Corners today, where Walmart and all of that is. That's where he lived, I think, right down the road on Bienvenue Road beyond that. But, very prominent man. He was a commissioner. I don't think he was still a commissioner at the time, but of his murder, but he had been a commissioner. Owned a lot of rental homes, houses, and things like that. So he was a very prominent man.
And speculate for a moment. If this was a relationship that was going on between another man and a woman, if they were exes, I would argue she would come forward and say, he did it. Mm-hmm. Now, if it was a married couple that's trying to make things work, I could see a scenario where she wants to protect her husband. Mm-hmm. She made a bad decision.
Yeah.
And she's thinking, this was my fault.
Yeah.
I caused this to happen.
Yeah.
And she is struggling with that burden. And
it will be anonymous. If you would please come forth and give this family closure. This family, I know them, talk to some of them, is torture. It's
sure.
torture not knowing who did this heinous thing, not just a one stab, one gunshot deal. I mean, somebody just totally was very, very, very angry. And we need to give this family closure. They have really suffered. They really would like to know what happened. So we will not know. It is anonymous. Just please call and collect your money. It will be cash. We pay cash, and we pay in about 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours. You will get your money. Nothing will ever be said. So it's that easy. But please give this family closure. So, okay, we're going to go to break, and we'll be right back with some weather.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Welcome back. Well, JP told me that I should not leave the viewers hanging, that they were really intrigued. He said, I'm very intrigued. He said, you should keep going. So, you want to keep
I love
going?
learning new details. Yes, please. I'm
There's
on the edge of my
more.
seat, literally.
There's more to be revealed here. Okay, the Lindell also went out and did a 30-minute show. He did a stand-up on location and kind of told the story. So this has some details. Also, I think we're going to see the house. So anyway, and the shopping center that he owned, just to let you know how prominent he was in town. Okay, Brittany, if you'll start that.
Hey folks, this is Lindell again with the K-Files. We wanted to talk today about Jeff Cobb, stabbed to death in his house in 2014. A lot of folks may not know the Jeff Cobb name, but they certainly have shopped at Cobb's Corner here in Rocky Mount. This is home of Walmart, several other stores. The Cobb family developed this land, so if you've ever shopped at Cobb's Corner in Rocky Mount, then you've been touched by the Cobb family. We need to solve this murder for the family. We need to find information that's going to help law enforcement lead to an arrest. So we're going to talk today about Jeff Cobb.
Mr. Cobb was he was somewhat of a ladies' man. I think we talked about that on the last show. The best
Yes,
way to
sir.
describe he liked the ladies. He lived over in the area of Jeffries Court, and he had tenants from the apartment complex that would come to the house and pay the rent. Mm-hmm. And they would frequently come to the office area of his home. And I think we showed some pictures of the office area. There we go. Of the office area of his home, where he would take not clients, I guess that's the wrong word, but tenants that would come and pay their rent. They would come there. And he was actually found in that room, deceased at the time, back in November of 2014. And we tracked his timeline. He was last seen on the 7th. He had ties to a local club. He was also a member of the Elks Lodge and was there regularly at the Elks Lodge. And we talked about him being a former county commissioner. I didn't know that, but I learned that when I talked to him.
And on the served on the school board as well.
Yeah, so he was a prominent figure in the community. And again, found deceased that morning, and we don't really have a motive on it. We were kind of struggling whether it was a robbery, whether it was something personal, revenge, domestic related. We just don't know, and we're hoping that someone would come forward with some information.
Well, I got this autopsy photo that I threw in with all the photos that you gave us. Shows the guy was stabbed 60 times, right? So I mean, there's.
Was it that many?
Yeah, it was 30 in the front and 30 in the back.
Wow.
So yeah, he got stabbed a lot, and usually that, I mean, I'm playing junior detective here, but I mean, usually that implies some sort of
Crime of passion.
right. So just throwing that out there, folks. 75 years old. He had been a Nash County. He'd been on the Nash County Board of Education, the Board of Commissioners, the hospital board, and a trustee for the Elks Lodge. Right. So
Yes.
accomplished quite a bit in his lifetime.
Well, there you go. You saw his house. You saw his office. I guess he had a little addition, a room that he used that had just a quick outside entrance that people could go in because, I told you earlier that he had rental houses. So people went in, paid their rent. So that's another whole, that brings another whole thing. But it looks like somebody like that would have robbed him.
They would have. It does bring in another variable. He's got a lot of foot traffic coming in and out of his home, but you know, if robbery was a motive, there would have been clear evidence of it that day.
Right.
And he wouldn't have been stabbed 50 times.
Right, exactly.
You know,
Just knock him off, get the money and go.
get whatever, yeah, that's right.
Well, it was terrible. Whatever happened, however this happened, well, we know how it happened, but whomever did this, it was heinous and terrible and brutal and senseless.
So he owned rental property.
Yes.
Did he have employees that maintained and looked after his properties?
Well, I'm sure he probably did.
I mean, there's just so many, there's so much I just learned.
With a man of his, being a man of his means, I don't think he would do any of the work on the houses
Right.
or any of the things like that. So he probably did have some employees.
Yeah.
And so somebody does know about this, and there are some more details, some definite details. Can we go a little bit further into, is there more with Lyndall's 30-minute show? Brittany, can we go a little bit past this and see what other details he might have?
At the time of his death, was living life, enjoying life. He was an active member of the public, member of the Elks Lodge. I understand from talking with Lindell that he was a former county commissioner. And he was found deceased back in 2014 in November, and in his home on Jeffries Court. And there's a picture of the house there. That the garage was converted into a room, and that's where he had rental properties, and the tenants would come and pay him rent. They could come at any time to pay the rent for the month.
So he had a little office set up
It was
in the
basically like a little
garage.
office setup, yeah. And there's going to be a picture we're going to see shortly of the office area. But he was found deceased. He was stabbed multiple times and succumbed to his wounds inside the residence. And we don't really have a clear motive. We don't know whether it was robbery or whether it was a disgruntled tenant or whether it was any other person with other means or motive to assault him and kill him. So we're looking for the public's information on that and trying to get anything we can. Somebody knows something. Somebody's talked. It's been
Absolutely.
a while now. So. Somebody can help us out with that. There is a reward. I was reminded when I spoke with the family that the reward is $10,000 for this particular crime.
Wow. Plus what we have,
Right, so that's up to $25,000.
$25,000.
That's a lot of money.
And remember, it's anonymous. Nobody will ask you who you are. If you have any information, and Lieutenant, I believe we said no tip is too small.
That's correct.
If you think of anything, any small thing that you say, nah, that wouldn't help, you
That could
would
be
be surprised.
That could be the piece of information that breaks the case.
Yes,
You know,
it absolutely could.
I'm not the kind of guy that sanctifies victims, you know, like, oh, he was the best person on
Right.
earth or whatever. But the thing about Jeff Cobb was that he was into real estate. His whole family's into real estate. They own that whole Cobb's Corner. If you go to Walmart, you know, you've been touched by this man's family.
Correct.
But the people that you
Okay, and there are other details, things that were found in the room, in the bedroom, things, you know, other details. Next week, you better hang on. This is going to be a little bit of a cliffhanger because we did give you some more this morning, though. We did show you the house, the office, and all of that. But there's more to this murder case, sad, sad murder case. And guess what? Next week, it is Lieutenant Seifman's week to come. So
Perfect
we're gonna talk to Lieutenant Seifman and say, give us more, give us more. So we're gonna ask him to please talk about this case, and then he'll have another case too that he wants to talk about, I'm sure. Now I do want to mention that we did pay out on a case, in case you all missed the show, we did pay out good money, probably the most we paid out. Yes, I will say that much. The most we have paid so far to the Pine Tops murder where the suspect went in and to his girlfriend's house, his ex-girlfriend's house, because she has a new boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend killed the new boyfriend and took the kids with him, but thankfully the kids, they were 12, 14, so they got put back where they needed to be with their mother, but he fled and couldn't find him for a while. But due to one of you out there, one of your tips, thank you, we paid out, and we don't know who it is. We have no idea who that was, but it did. We did pay out. So just wanted to let you know that this system works. It does work if you work with us.
People are being brought to justice,
Yes.
slowly
yes.
but surely.
And talk
There-
about the reward of Jeff Cobb.
Yeah.
That's already existing.
So the family's offering up to $10,000
Yeah.
on top of what, cold case will pay. You're looking at a payout of up to $25,000. Folks, I'm convinced that this case can be solved. I think friends of the deceased, friends of Mr. Cobb, people who fluented these bars, people know details that can solve this case.
Yeah, they absolutely do. They know, and it's weighing heavy on you all the time, but it's weighing even heavier on the family.
Yeah.
So please give them closure, and as JP said, the reward is up to, counting
this case,
the
you could-
family,
$25,000.
God, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And it's cash. It's cash, and it's paid quickly. So you don't want this to weigh on your mind any longer. Just please call 406-6736, or you can call 977-1111, which is the Crime Stoppers line, or you can always call the Rocky Mount Police Department and ask for Lieutenant Siepman. So, well, there you go. That's how it works. I mean, and next week we'll entertain Lieutenant Siepman. He'll be here, and we'll have some more details. We might have some more details after Lieutenant Siepman leaves, so we can give you some intricate details that Lyndall Kay has given us. So we're going to really have some good details of this next week. We really will. So please tune in. Don't forget. All right. Well, we want to remind everybody the tickets are still on sale for the Quezon fundraiser.
That's right.
At the Mills.
At the Rocky Mount Mills. If you need tickets to the all-you-can-eat oyster roast, call me at 919-369-0311, 919-369-0311. Rocky Mount Mills going to have live entertainment. $50, all you can eat. I guarantee you'll have a good time.
Exactly.
We'd love to have you.
And if you
you're
can't
supporting
come,
a good cause. You're supporting the North Carolina State Highway Patrol Quezon Unit.
That's right. And if they can't come,
Just make a donation. You can contact me. I'll come by, pick up a check, or you can make contributions online straight to the North Carolina Highway Patrol Troopers Association Quezon Unit.
exactly. So please participate in this. It's very important, as I've said many times. If you've seen this unit
It's sharp.
in action at a funeral, and it's for fallen officers or state officials, people like that. Let's see who might be calling us this morning. Hello? We've got a new phone. Hello?
Hit the 407 low mode button.
Well, I'm trying to work our new phone, y'all. Hello? Who is that? Hello?
Hey, I know you only got about a minute left, but I want to just tell you, first of all, appreciate you all, what you're doing, and just a reminder that the deeper fix for these payments is not just giving the money back to you or getting the criminal that we are going after captured. It's about letting the would-be criminal know that he shouldn't be comfortable in the Rocky Mountain corridor. You know, just keep hammering that home, and we'll appreciate it, because there is a decline. We're also improving on our crime to capture ratio, and all these things I think are attributable to the last couple of years of cold case, the team that we have in the police department in Rocky Mount, Nash, and Edgecombe counties. So hats off to the whole team and to the citizens who are stepping up.
All right. Thank you so much for your call.
So I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye-bye. And, you know, he's so right, JP. We do not want criminals to be comfortable
That's
in
right.
our community. We do not. So, very good point he had. All right. Well, that's all for the K-Files, JP and myself. Thank you, JP.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to go. JP brought a cheese biscuit. I'm going to eat. Thank y'all.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you next week.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.